Manchester City give major North Stand update with hundreds facing seat move. Manchester City have announced new plans for the North Stand that include the top tier but also the area behind the goal. Manchester City will welcome more than 4,000 flexi-season tickets when they open the top tier of the expanded North Stand next year. But hundreds of supporters behind the goal will have to move seats. As part of the changes, 2 new bars are coming to the North Stand. Crossbar will house 300 supporters in the new section, while City Hall will be a new experience for fans on match days for 500 that will require up to the same number of supporters currently sitting behind the goal to move seats. The hundreds who have been affected have been informed this morning, with the club putting a number of measures in place to try to soften the blow of the change if supporters do not wish to be part of the new hospitality area. These include a priority relocation window anywhere in the stadium for the same price they are currently paying, a 2-year price freeze, and the option to relocate with family or friends, even if not all of the group are affected by the changes. While work on the new stand is expected to finish in early 2026, the City Hall space will only be in operation from the 2026/27 season, and anyone affected will have months to decide on the best option for them. However, the club will be braced for complaints from supporters, as they were when they moved fans in the Colin Bell stand to create the Tunnel Club. With more than 6,000 new seats in the top tier of the stadium that will take the capacity to over 60,000, City have committed to more than 4,000 new flexi-season tickets. Half of them will be kept for junior citizens, as the club looks to make season tickets accessible for the next generation. Prices for the new areas as well as renewal and relocation details will be released in early 2026 as the club prepares to take in more supporters. City chairman Khaldoon Al-Mubarak spoke on the club's relationship with fans in summer after a number of protests from supporters had helped lead to fan group City Matters negotiating a pay freeze on season tickets. A reduction in matchday tickets was subsequently announced. This has been a relationship built on trust between the fans and the club. And that trust comes both ways, he said. I think this issue on ticketing is no doubt something that I'm not okay with the way it played out. I think the management team is working very closely with City Matters, addressing and understanding the issues. What I'm sure about, and I hope this message comes out loud and clear, is that relationship of trust between the fans and the club is the foundation of the success and sustainability of this club. Manchester City have problem position with no perfect solution, we must not forget. Manchester City team news with Rodri and Nico Gonzalez doubts, and Mateo Kovacic having only just returned to full fitness. Tuesday night's 2-0 win over Villarreal made it 9 games unbeaten in all competitions, while Erling Haaland continued his scarcely believable goal-scoring form as he netted his 24th goal of an already prolific campaign for club and country. The Blues are buoyant ahead of the trip to Aston Villa on Sunday afternoon and will head to the Midlands with extra rest time compared to their opponents who are in Europa League action in the Netherlands on Thursday night with an away tie at go-ahead Eagles. Villa have found their form after a difficult start to the season and were deserved winners of the corresponding fixture last season, which came during City's winter of discontent when the Blues struggled for results and performances. Things seem different now. City have a swagger back with Haaland dominant at one end and Gianluigi Donnarumma at the other. The likes of Nico O'Reilly, Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku are in superb form. Pep Guardiola is close to being able to call upon a fully fit squad. There are question marks over the fitness of 3 players ahead of the game at Villa Park. The problem is 2 of them play in the same position. Rodri missed the Champions League trip to Spain, while Nico Gonzalez was forced off in the second half with a knock. The prognosis on both is positive, but there is no guarantee either will be fit or risked to start this weekend, particularly in case of Rodri, who has suffered a stop-start season with fitness and injury concerns. If neither are deemed fit enough to feature, then Mateo Kovacic is in line to come in for his first start of the season. He replaced Gonzalez in midweek and offers a steady hand in the middle of midfield. But the Croat is also light in match fitness, having undergone Achilles surgery over the summer. He's played 37 minutes for City so far this term across 2 substitute appearances, although he did start for his national side against Gibraltar during the international break. The 31-year-old would be the perfect fit in the absence of City's Spanish midfield duo. The issue is match fitness. Guardiola has already spoken about the need to manage Kovacic's return to full fitness, and asking too much too soon is a risky proposition. Prove a point, Rico Lewis offers Manchester City alternative for Pep Guardiola. Manchester City defender Rico Lewis spoke after a starring role in their Champions League win over Villarreal. Rico Lewis felt out of puff after 10 minutes in Villarreal, but he could be ready to breathe new life in Manchester City's midfield. Pep Guardiola is still working out his best combinations in the centre, having said goodbye to long-serving legends Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan in the summer, and been unable to rely on Rodri's fitness. Nico Gonzalez is stepping up to cover for the Ballon d'Or winner, and further forward Phil Foden and Tijani Reinders had been the preferred choice. Both were benched for the trip to Villarreal though, with Lewis coming in as one of 4 changes to make his first start since Huddersfield away in the League Cup. The 20-year-old played where he wants to, in central midfield behind Erling Haaland, and made an instant impact as he crossed for the striker to score the opening goal at the Estadio de la Ceramica. Lewis paired up nicely with Savinho, John Stones and Matheus Nunes in the Champions League game, with a confident performance that gives Guardiola food for thought as he assesses his options that also include Omar Marmoush and Ryan Cherki. Lewis felt like he needed to prove a point, and his way of interpreting the midfield role and running between the lines is certainly different. I was so tired. After 10 minutes I was thinking, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to half-time, but the basics are always going to be there, he said. You can't play for 5 games in a row, but the team is so good that you fit in. We do it so much in training, you know the spaces. Running between the lines is something I'll have to look at myself. It's very different when you're in the game, you don't see it all, but it's something I can offer. It's something I enjoy. I think it's effective as well. I knew I needed to go and prove a point. I needed to prove myself because I've always wanted to play in midfield and talk about it all the time. When I get the opportunity, I want to take it. Guardiola purred over Lewis after the game and was happy with his side's victory, even if he saw room for improvement in the second half. City's problem has generally been seeing out games this season, with promising starts that have faded over the course of the 90 minutes. The players will work on that, helped by the fact that more players are available. But Lewis was happy to lead from the start to play the kind of football that Guardiola loves. Possession heavy, passing heavy, and taking the game to their opponents from the start. Most of the season, it's been like that, in my opinion. From looking from the outside in as well. Maybe some games we've struggled with it, but I feel like Wolves was the same. It's always there, but it's having the confidence to do it from minute 1, he said. The manager says everyone can play amazing football when you're 3 or 4-0 up, but it's about doing it from minute 0, and that's what we did at Villarreal. The performance, coming with a result like that, helps more than you think. You can win 1-0 and it be a bit scrappy, and you can be happy while knowing that the performance wasn't good, but having a performance like that with a clean sheet and 2 goals is amazing. Very frustrating. Angry Manchester City punished by embarrassing UEFA decision. Manchester City made mistakes in their UEFA Youth League game, but a trio of officials got a crucial call wrong. Manchester City were denied a penalty in the UEFA Youth League defeat to Villarreal after 3 officials failed to spot a foul in the penalty area. The referee, supported by a linesman and the 4th official on the same side, agreed that Floyd Samba had been brought down, but chose to give a free kick rather than a spot kick. The incident came in the 70th minute of the game in Villarreal, as City were fighting to get back into the match. 2 first-half goals had given the hosts the lead, but Divine Mukasa had pulled one back for Ben Wilkinson's side, and they were pushing for an equaliser when sub Samba collected Ryan McAdoo's ball inside the box and was brought down. He's definitely in the area, he's not even on the line, he's inside of the line, said City Club commentator Ali Mann. I'm not quite sure how the officials haven't seen that. It's not a difficult decision to have made, but he's got that one wrong. Mukasa smashed the subsequent free kick against the post and the chance was gone, with City unable to find an equaliser in the final 20 minutes. Wilkinson was one of 11 booked from both sides in a chaotic match that saw tempers fray as the referee struggled to handle the occasion. City's coach was in no doubt that his players only had themselves to blame for their 2-1 defeat after gifting their opponents 2 goals with poor defending. However, it is not a great look for UEFA for their flagship youth competition when 3 officials all failed to see that Samba was clearly inside the box when he was fouled in the second half. Manchester City contract decision that split opinion is beginning to make sense. Manchester City beat Villarreal 2-0 in the Champions League, and Brazilian winger Savinho was key to the success. In among a flurry of new contracts dished out at Manchester City in the last couple of months, it was the one given to Savinho that was of most intrigue and led to the most debate. The Brazilian had only been at the Etihad for 1 season before seeing a contract with 4 years still to run extended to 6 years, with a hefty pay rise included. The 21-year-old's debut campaign had been promising, but he had flirted with an exit in the summer when he fluttered his eyelashes at Tottenham, who had a strong interest in signing him. Savinho missed the start of the season with a mystery injury as that transfer saga dragged on, and his social media activity didn't always endear himself to the fans, although it might be that amateur sleuths were reading too much into a suitcase lurking in the background of a photo of a pool table. He has certainly cleaned up since. You could argue he played the window perfectly, earning that new deal and extra cash as a result of Spurs' desire to sign him. But with the contract and the salary comes an expectation to perform. His performances last season sparked plenty of debate,